Ceasefire has been in place in Idlib province since Sunday. Now, it's largely holding, but there have been some violations by regime forces. Our team in southern Idlib was caught up in one of those attacks. Yasin Eken is live for us in Hatay near the Turkey-Syria border, and you've just got back from Idlib province. Yasin, tell us what happened.
Rachel, just like the Turkish Ministry of Defense said in a statement, the peace deal or the ceasefire is ultimately holding despite a few isolated events referring to violations by the Syrian regime. Now, these attacks that are ongoing are targeting specific areas that are close to regime-held areas in the south and to the east, namely Marat al-Numan, a town that used to hold more than 300,000 people, which has been basically rendered a ghost town. It's apocalyptic and nobody lives there. My team and I were there just today, and this is what we saw. The Syrian regime is using the ceasefire to amount troops along the outskirts of Idlib province to the south and to the east. People here believe that the Syrian regime is also using this time to carry out logistical support to its troops that are bordering these areas. It's also using this time to fortify its defenses in areas that have been recently taken by the Assad regime from opposition forces. The Syrian regime continues to carry out airstrikes despite the ceasefire being implemented in these parts of the town. There were artillery strikes earlier, and there was a drone in the sky, and we needed to be as quick as possible, but we were caught off guard by airstrikes, and they landed about a few hundred meters away from us. This town is completely empty, completely destroyed. Nobody lives here, which leaves us asking, why would the Assad regime continue to target these areas? Nobody lives here, and it's in complete ruin. Nobody can ever come back to these homes to begin with. And this is a large violation of the ceasefire agreement. Of course, artillery strikes had taken place over the weekend, but as you can see, they continue to attack a town, apocalyptic and completely deserted. Looking at everything that we've witnessed over the last few hours, one thing remains clear. Despite these few violations and the fact that the peace deal is ultimately standing, that the Assad regime does continue to carry out certain plans that have been set in motion. Namely, the Assad regime has been setting certain plans in motion. That being, they have been fortifying their defenses along these regions in south and east Idlib. Their soldiers have been amassing around these areas. They've been fortifying their defensive, providing logistical support. And one thing that really strikes us as important is the people in Idlib do not know what to do. They are expecting another offensive in the upcoming weeks or even the upcoming days. And one thing that really is important is the Syrian regime handed out flyers or pamphlets with the help of helicopters in western Aleppo, which is in areas that are east of Idlib, saying that the Syrian regime will continue to carry out operations against terror groups. And keep in mind, the Assad regime considers every single opposition group in Syria a terrorist organization. They also said that they will carry out these offensives, but the people or the civilians in these regions are making it difficult for the Syrian regime to carry out these activities. But over the last few weeks, and even over the last few months, the attacks that have been ongoing have specifically targeted civilian and residential areas, which brings their intentions and their plans in doubt.
Yasin, good to see you safe back at the border. Yasin Eken there in Hatay.